Let's talk about heart. The heart is a fist-sized organ that pumps blood throughout your body. It's the primary organ of your circulatory system. Your heart contains four main sections, which is also known as chambers, made up of muscles and powered by electrical impulses. Your brain and nervous system direct your heart's function. Position of heart in the body. The human heart is located between the lungs in the thoracic cavity, slightly towards the left of sternum. It is derived from the embryonic mesodermal germ layer. As you see the difference between the heart inside the heart and outside the heart, then what are the functions? The function of the heart in any organism is to maintain a constant flow of blood throughout the body. This replenish oxygen and circulate nutrients among the cells and tissue. Following are the main functions of the heart. One of the primary functions of the human heart is to pump blood throughout the body. Blood delivers oxygen, hormones, glucose, and other components to various parts of the body, including the human heart. The heart also ensures that adequate blood pressure is maintained in the body. As you see the diagram, heart pump of the circulatory system. Here you can see the red one denotes oxygenated blood and the blue one denotes the deoxygenated blood. Types of circulation. The first is pulmonary circulation and the second is systemic circulation. The pulmonary circulation is a portion of circulation responsible for carrying deoxygenated blood away from the heart to the lungs and then bringing oxygenated blood back to the heart. Then we talk about the systemic circulation. Systemic circulation is another portion of circulation where the oxygenated blood is pumped from the heart to every organ and tissue in the body and deoxygenated blood comes back again. So the heart itself is a muscle and therefore it needs a constant supply of oxygenated blood. This is where another type of circulation come into play, that is coronary circulation. The coronary circulation is an essential portion of the circulation where oxygenated blood is supplied to the heart. This is important as the heart is responsible for supplying blood throughout the body. Moreover, organs like the brain need a safety flow of fresh oxygenated blood to ensure the functionality. Then we will see the structure of human heart. As you see it described in numbers. Then electrocardiogram. An electrocardiogram is a simple test that can be used to check your heart rhythm and electrical activity. Sensors attached to the skin are used to detect the electrical signal produced by your heart each time it beats. It can be used to investigate the symptoms of a possible heart problem such as chest pain, palpitation, dizziness, and shortness of breath. An ECG can help to detect arrhythmia, coronary heart disease, heart attack, cardiomyopathy. Arrhythmia, where the heart beats too slowly, too quickly, or irregularly. Coronary heart disease, where the heart blood supply is blocked or interrupted by a build-up of a fatty substance. Then heart attacks, where the supply of blood to the heart is suddenly blocked. Cardiomyopathy is where the heart walls become thickened or enlarged. Then types of ECG. There are three main types of ECG. First, a resting ECG, a stress or exercise ECG, and ambulatory ECG. And resting ECG is carried out while you are lying down in a comfortable position. Then, a stress or exercise ECG carried out while you are using an exercise bike or treadmill. Third, an ambulatory ECG. The electrodes are connected to a small portable machine, one at your waist, so your heart can be monitored at home for one or more days. Then, cardiac cycle. The period of time that begins with the contraction of the atria and ends with the ventricular relaxation is known as the cardiac cycle. The period of contraction that the heart undergoes while it pumps blood into the circulation is called systole. The period of relaxation that occurs as the chamber fills with blood is called diastole. Both the atria and the ventricle undergo systole and diastole, and it is essential that these components be careful, regulated, and coordinated to ensure blood is pumped efficiently to the body. Then the phases of cardiac cycle. At the beginning of the cardiac cycle, both the atria and the ventricles are relaxed, which is known as diastole. Blood is flowing into the right atrium from the superior and inferior vena cava and the coronary sinus. Blood flow into the left atrium from the four pulmonary veins. The two atrioventricular valves, the tricuspid valve and the mitral valve, are both open. So blood flows unimpeded from the arteria and into the ventricles. Approximately 70 to 80% of ventricular filling occurs by this method. The two semilunar valves, the pulmonary and aortic valve, are closed, preventing backflow of blood into the right and the left ventricles from the pulmonary trunk on the right and the aorta on the left. Then arterial systole and diastole. Contraction of the artery followed by depolarization, represented by P wave of the ECG. As the arterial muscles contract from the superior portion of the atria towards the atrioventricular septum, pressure arises within the atria and blood is pumped into the ventricle through the open atrioventricular, which is tricuspid, mitral, or bicuspid valve. At the start of atrial systole, the ventricles are normally filled with approximately 70 to 80% of their capacity due to inflow during diastole. Atrial contraction, also referred to as the atrial kick, contributes the remaining 20 to 30% of filling. Ventricular systole. Ventricular systole follows the depolarization of the ventricle and is represented by the QRS complex in the ECG. It may be conveniently divided into two phases, lasting a total of 270 milliseconds. At the end of atrial systole and just prior to atrial contraction, the ventricles contain approximately 130 milliliter blood in a resting adult in a standing position. This volume is known as the end diastolic volume or preload. Then ventricular diastole. Ventricular relaxation or diastole follow repolarization of the ventricle and is represented by the T wave of the ECG. It is divided into two distinct phases and lasts approximately 430 milliseconds. Heart sound. In a normal healthy heart, there are only two audible heart sounds, S1 and S2. S1 is the sound created by closing of the atrioventricular valves during ventricular contraction, and it is normally described as a loop or first heart sound. The second heart sound is S2 is the sound of the closing of the semilunar valve during ventricular diastole, and it is described as a dope. There is a third heart sound S3, but it is rarely heard in healthy individuals. It may be the sound of blood flowing into the atria or blood sloshing back and forth in the ventricle. The fourth heart sound S4 results from the contraction of the atria pushing blood into a stiff or hypertrophic ventricle, indicating failure of the left ventricles. A few individuals may have both S3 and S4, and this combined sound is referred to as S7. Then, hypertension. High blood pressure is a common condition that affects the body arteries. It's also called hypertension. Blood pressure is measured in millimeters of mercury, which is known as mmHg. As you see the difference between hypertension and no hypertension. Then hypertension. Your blood pushes against your artery with every heartbeat. The force of blood pushing against your artery wall is called blood pressure. Blood pressure goes up and down in response to your regular activities, such as sleeping and moving around. The medical term for low blood pressure is hypotension. This is atherosclerosis. It is a buildup of fat, cholesterol, and other substances in and on the artery walls. This buildup is called plaque. The plaque can cause arteries to narrow, blocking blood flow. The plaque can also burst, leading to the blood clot. Then angina. Angina is a type of chest pain caused by the reduced blood flow to the heart. Angina is a symptom of coronary artery disease. Angina is also called angina pectoris. Angina pain is often described as squeezing, pressure, heaviness, tightness, or pain in the chest. Then myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction is also known as heart attack. It is caused by the decrease or complete cessation of blood flow to a portion of the myocardium. Myocardial infarction can be silent or go undetected, or it could be leading to the hemodynamic deterioration of heart failure. It occurs when the heart muscle doesn't pump blood as well as it should. When this happens, blood often back up and fluid can build up in the lungs, causing shortness of breath. Then arrhythmia. An arrhythmia is an irregular or abnormal heartbeat. Type supraventricular arrhythmia, ventricular arrhythmia, and bradyarrhythmia.